Test. Hey everyone, so today what we're going to do, we're going to go through uh, going through the extra credit of tutorial 6, which was creating a rig for a fish and animating the fish. Um, so to get the fish file, you will go to um, Canvas and you'll download, under tutorial 6, download the fish file. You'll get a zip file labeled fish.ma.zip. You're going to um, uncompress it by double clicking and you should get this fish.ma file. Okay, should look like this. So now I'm going to go to Maya and I'm going to create a project folder. So I'm going to go to create a new scene for right now. I'm going to do a general workspace for right now too. And I'm going to go to File, Project Window, and I'm going to create a new folder. So this will just be for tutorial 6. Save it in the desktop and I'll hit accept. And then I'm going to go, and with this new folder that I've made, which is right here, I'm going to copy and just move the scene file to here, to the scenes tab of the new folder that I just made. I'm going to minimize that and go back to Maya. And I'll click on File, Open Scene. And thus this file is there. I'll hit Open Scene. I'll click Don't Save. And here I have my fish. Chances are you won't have an image playing. You can delete them now because this was from an old assignment. I think the other thing I failed to do was just rename this right eyeball. So you might have to just do that if you don't mind. Geo. Okay. So I have a fish body and fish eyeballs. Hope you like it. And I'm going to create a rig for this. Now, instead of doing the cylinders and the spheres like I did before, we actually need to create a setup or a skeleton inside this model in order for this to be able to bend and create that wave-like motion that we see in fishes and for it to move the flippers. So under the rigging tab, what we're going to do, we're going to create a skeleton by creating a joint chain. So first things first, we're going to click into our orthographic camera. And we're actually going to start with we're going to use the side camera because this is already going to be at the center. So if I start clicking here, it will still be in the middle of the fish. So under the rigging tab, I'm going to hover my mouse over here where it says create joints. And when I do that, my cursor is going to change and I'll see this little target cursor instead. So the first joint that I'm going to click is going to be right at the nose of the fish. I'm going to hold down Shift and click behind the eyeball. And then the next one will be right around the start of the fin, the top fin I mean. And then the next one will be right past the top fin. And then the last one I will make right where the fin begins to split, the tail fin. And then I'm going to click on the select tool, or you can click Q to use the hotkey for select. And so now I have this joint chain, which is right here. I'm going to click on it so you can see it. So similar to the cylinder and the sphere, it does the same thing where the first sphere, the first joint that I made, is the top of the hierarchy and the one with the most power. I'm going to rotate this one. And so here, what we're going to do, we're going to attach this chain, and basically by proximity, any vertices closest to this joint chain. Let me turn off, make geometry selectable. So anything closest to this part of the joint chain will bend when this bends. Same thing here. And same thing here. So it's all about proximity and proximity of the vertices to to that joint. But same thing that we did with the robot arm, we need to rename our joint chain. So I'm going to shift and click on the positive sign right next to joint 1 in the outliner. And I'm going to rename these joints. So I'll name this main joint. I'll name this, actually, what am I doing? Spine joint 1. Spine joint 02. Spine joint 03. Spine joint 04. And then spine joint 05. Okay. The other thing I can do, for some reason, it is there, but for some reason my joints are not being selectable. I might have to just click on it in the outliner. I'm going to select this joint and just move and adjust. Do not rotate these in order to position them, only translate. Because part of this is that the rotations are going to be what's defining the movement of this object. So we don't want to move these or change the orientations of these. Okay. The other thing you'll notice is that the radius is pretty large, so I'm going to select all of them in the outliner. And where it says radius in my channel box, I'm going to maybe, let's do 0.3 for right now. Yeah, that's a good size. Okay. And so next, I'm going to add to this joint chain. So similar to how, let me draw this so you can see it. So similar to how we have this spine joint chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to add chains to branch out to here. Okay. So we could do it from a few ways. If I bend, I think we'll start it from here. So I'm going to start by selecting, to create this new joint chain, I'm going to start by selecting this joint with the create joint tool, and then add a joint here and then a joint here, so it should look like this. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to clear the drawings here. So I'm going to select create joint tool. I'm going to select spine joint 3. There we go. And it'll make a new one here. So right here, so this will be top fin joint 01, top fin joint 02. I'll select it in my outliner, select these 3, and then just resize these. I could do this at the end, but I do prefer 0.3. There we go. I do prefer them a little smaller, and so that way I can kind of see where they're going to be placed. It's not letting me do it as a whole, so I'm just going to do them manually, unfortunately. Okay, but I have them renamed and resized, and I like the placement of where they are. I could make this one a little higher, just a wee bit, and then put this down here at the top of the fin. All right, so next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the top portion of the tail fin and make that. So it's going to be starting with this tail spine joint 5. I'm going to make top tail joint 1 and then top tail joint 2. And then later on, I'll do the same thing with the bottom tail joints. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to select last joint. I'm going to click on create joints. See if it'll let me. I'm going to have to select in the outliner. Right now I have a issue in selecting. There we go. I'll click on the select tool to get out of creating more joints. And let me just resize these. And move this a little bit along. If you want, you can also turn on wireframe on shaded so you can see where the joints are aligned. Typically, you kind of want them at a point where there's a crease, so I might adjust this one here. Let me zoom in. This one's fine here. And then this one, put it up at this one at the very top. Alright. Let me show shading, X-ray joints. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom tail joints. And actually, make sure to rename these as well. But I'll rename them once I finish this next set of chains. So I'll click on create joints. I'll select top spine joint 5 here. And then I'll click on make the new joint and then the last one here. Same thing, resize these. 0.3. And then the last one. Okay. And so now let's go here and rename these. So this will be top tail joint 1, top tail joint 2, and the next one bottom tail joint 1, bottom tail joint 2. Okay. And then we make the side fins. So we'll go to the top camera. So we need to make joints for the side fins. So with that, let me go to my shading tab here of my camera and click on X-ray joints here. So in this case, when we start this new joint chain, we're going to start it from the second fin. Yeah, so that way that follows that hierarchy. So I'm going to click on create joints and I'm going to start with the right side. So I'm going to click on joint 2. It's not letting me. So I'll click on it in the outliner. Spine joint 2. I still have the tool on and I'm going to click right where the side fin meets the body because there's going to be a bend there. There will be a bend in the fin itself and then one at the tip. And there's not going to be a bend at the last joint. It's just a point of direction for the other joints to point towards. So now, let's click here. I'll name this left fin joint 1. It's the fish's left, not my left. Left fin joint. Oh, I changed my naming convention. It's fine. 02. And then left fin joint 03. It's best to rename this now. That way we can also mirror the geometry, mirror the skeleton and the side joint, so that way it makes it easier to already have the settings that you want. So this will be 0.3. This will be 0.3 as well. Okay. So with that done, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to, let's see, where are you? I'm gonna go to the rigging tab. There we go. And I'm gonna go to the top camera again. And under skeleton, I'm gonna first select this first joint of the fin. So left fin joint 1. And under skeleton, I'm going to click on mirror joints. I'll do it again because I meant to click on the box. So under skeleton, I'm going to click on the option box for mirror joints. It's just, it already did everything that I needed to do because I already had the settings set up. But click on the option box for mirror joints. And let's look at it. So as far as axes, it's going to be depending on the axis that is going directly through the middle. And in this case, this is direction Z. And how I know, let's look at our little display here. Notice that Z is pointing down, meaning Z is going in this direction as well as in this direction. And then I also need the direction that's going upward, meaning I'm basically, if this is our fish here, oh, terrible fish, I know, I'm drawing with a mouse. I need the directions of what it would look like if I had a big guillotine slicing through this fish. All right. And in this case, it's going to be Z and Y, which is the upward direction here. Um, if you're on a different camera, or if your fish should be basically how I set it up. So it should be Y and Z for you, but always double check if your heads up display is looking like such in your top camera and your fish is looking in the same direction, then it's YZ. Mirror the behaviors. And then also type in, where it says search, type in left and replace it with right, so that way you don't have to rename everything. And you'll hit mirror. Ta-da, it's all done for you. You're welcome. So now, huzzah. But right now, you'll notice nothing is moving in terms of the geometry, right? We need this to move this fish. And also, we also need to, we need to move all this. I didn't realize it was down there. Take 2. I'll do this simultaneously, so I'll select both left and right joints, bring them down. I'll take the next second set of joints, shift select them, bring those down, and then the last ones here. Bring those down simultaneously. There we go. Okay, now everything's ready. Okay, so this is a good time to increment and save your scene. Okay, there it is. Fish 1, done. So now what we need to do, we need to tell Maya, well, connect this skeleton to this geometry or the fish's body for the most part. So to do that, under the rigging, under, should be here. Lies and fairy tales. Okay. It's under skin here. If you set up your workspace to the rigging tab, it'll be easier to find. So switch your workspace if you haven't done so already. Switch it to rigging. And so under the skin tab, what you're going to do, you're going to select your skin. Let me X-ray my joints here. I'm going to shift select my fish body. And under skin, I'm going to click on bind skin. Da, 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 da. And so now when you deselect, your skeleton should look as such. And notice I did not select the eyeballs. Do not select your eyeballs. That'll be separate. Actually, hold on. No, don't select your eyeballs. That's what it was. Ignore me. Yeah, I was right. Um, so what we'll do, we'll just parent this to this joint. So I'll shift select the eyeballs and middle mouse drag it to spine joint 1. There we go. And now I'll select this joint. There we go. I know. Always press Z once you do a test of a rotation. And this will figure out. Don't worry. I know it's a little wonky. And then, so now we're just kind of looking and seeing what's being deformed. So you'll notice if I'm flipping this side, and you'll see it on the other side too, but when we do flip this fin, it's dragging too much of the bottom parts of the fish body. And then here it's pretty good. It's actually just a little bit down here at the bottom. But what we're going to do, we're going to tell Maya to adjust the paint weights for this fish. So what paint weights are, it's basically telling Maya the strength of each of these joints to the vertices that are around it. So again, because of proximity, some of the joints are affecting parts of the body that it really wouldn't be affecting. The top fin is pretty solid. It's just going to be places like here that are really near other, since this part of the body is really small, it's also going to affect um, the body of the fish. Same thing here. This top tail fin, I'm pretty sure it's going to affect the bottom part of the tail fin. So if I, oh lies, of course, the one time I say it, it doesn't happen. Okay, that's fine. All right. So to adjust the paint weights, start from the very top and we work our way down. What we're going to do, we're going to right click on the geometry. Shift, not on the geometry, lies. On the joints. Shift, right click. Where did you go? On the geometry. And you're going to go to paint skin weights. And so you'll see it here. I know. So paint skin weights, like I said, it's telling you the amount of influence. Here we go. Let's go back to here. So to get there, again, I'll say it again. Select the geometry, hold down your right mouse button, and so now we have a new option here, paint skin weights. And so right now we have spine joint 1 selected, and what this is showing us is the areas that spine joint 1 is affecting, which is pretty solid. I like to turn this, instead of doing black and white, because I find the grayscale hard to detect how much influence it really has, I switched to a color ramp down here on the right hand side. And so now this is a better indication of what it's really affecting. And so what I'm going to do is actually take all, at least of the eye socket, make sure this is all red, if not white, so that when I do bend the previous joint, the next joint, it's not going to be affected by this section. So I'm going to go, and with spine joint 1 selected, I'm going to, I might make my my brush size a little smaller though. And I'm going to scroll down to stroke. I'm going to decrease my radius of view. Let's do 0.5. How's that look? Oh, that's better. Okay. And the goal is to hover and click near the vertices because that's where it's going to change the values. I might make it a little larger again just because it'll be easier to do the front side. 1, just to get this. Just be a lot faster here. Okay, I'll decrease it again. 0.5. And so notice I'm holding down my left mouse button. I might hide the eyeballs for right now, so I'll select them and I'll press H. Home paint mode. Go back. Here we go. I'm going to go inside the socket as well. Make my thing a little smaller. Hey, 0.3. Might need to make this a little deeper. Of course. Okay, that's fine. Go to the other side. And you'll see it's where the crosshairs intersect. Is how you're going to be able to affect the paint weights here. Okay. There we go. I have to just get even closer. I mean, red is pretty significant of a value, but the OCD in me is just like I must. I have to get a little closer here. There we go. Okay. 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 So if I get that one spot at least. There we go. And then here. Okay. So now we'll do a little test of this movement. Okay. And then we'll look at this one. There we go. Okay. And we can always soften it if need be, at least in the edge right at. So if I go to paint skin weights, let's see if it'll let me try that again. Paint skin weights. If I switch to the strength of my, if I lower it just a wee bit, like 9, I can switch it to just giving like this bottom section a little bit less um, influence here, just to soften this a little bit more. Okay. Okay. So now let's look at this. Okay, yeah. So there's a little bit more wiggle room there. So next we'll look at the next space, see what else's needs work, and we'll go down the chain. So this is fine. I think here what we'll do is go back to spine joint 2. So we'll right click on the geometry. We'll scroll to spine joint 2 now. There we go. Select, and so now we'll adjust this one. And so what I think we need to do now is the strength needs to be a little stronger here. So anything but the eye socket, really, and in the middle. So not up to the next spine joint. So I'll adjust this, strengthen this a little bit more. Okay. So now we'll do the next one. We'll do a test. rotate this. Okay, it looks better. And then we'll do this rotation. And so notice that there's no more stretching at the top. So next we'll look at this fin, which is actually pretty good. This fin was alright as well. It was just a little bit of movement here. I think I might adjust it. So I'll right click on, so that's spine joint 5. So I'll right click on my geometry, go back to paint skin weights. I'll select spine joint 5 here. Actually, I'll go back to spine joint 4 and just increase the strength here. And it's just this bottom fin, this little orientation fin here. Okay. And so then I'll go to spine joint 5 and look at this. This is pretty solid. And then let's look at bottom joint. Yeah, this is actually, we got lucky here. And then this one, good. So this is good. This is good. So I'm just going through the fins, and so I'll now look at the top fin joint here. See how this is looking. This is alright. Let me see if I rotate this. How is it looking? I think I don't want too much stretching. So what I'll do is I'll select spine. It'll be spine joint 3. So I'll right click back to paint skin weights. And so I'll go back to spine joint 3 and just kind of confirm more influence here at the top. Go to the other side. Oops, not go that far. Let's try that again. So up to this edge line. Okay. So now let's rotate this fin and see how this is looking. Yep, there we go. So now let's look at the side joint fins, see if there's any stretching. Oh, that kind of solved it. But what we may have to do is just go back to spine joint 4 here, because I think we want more of this joint to affect that bottom part of the body. So right click here on the geometry, and let's click on spine joint 4 now. And again, we'll just basically telling what vertices need to be really influenced by what joint. So here we don't want the side fins to be affecting this part of the body. That's kind of why we're doing this. And you'll see parts that have blue, and that's just not going to be as detectable as any other color, as red or yellow or green. So let's now look at this. So notice now we don't have any of that issue of rotating and dragging the other part of the body. Same thing here. Just do a check. It's actually pretty good. So basically, we did it. Look at that. Now if we rotate, just do another check here. Nice. Okay. So now what we're going to do is add the controls. So same thing that we did last time. We're going to add controls to the body and connect them to the joints. So first things first, we're going to add a curve. See if it did do it. There we go. I'm going to rotate it on its side. I'm going to go to the channel box, rotate this 90 degrees. And I'm going to snap this to point because I really need this to be accurate in terms of where this is snapping to. So to snap to point, we're going to hold down V with the move tool activated and drag this to the center of, and sometimes it might not click, so you might have to rotate and really ensure that this is snapping to the center of the joint. So hold down V. There we go. I'm going to change the scale here of this curve so it's a little bit more oval and just matching the size of the fish. Okay, I'll name this main control. This is all about direction for this control. I'm going to press Control D. Actually, you know what? Spine control 1. What am I doing? Okay, just rename that. I'm going to press Control D, take 2. Press W, and I'm going to hold down V and snap this to spine joint 2. And rotate to ensure that it is. You should be able to see that it's not offset from the joint. And because I named it like this, whenever I duplicate it, it's going to maintain the naming convention here. So I'm going to press Control D, hold down V, and move across. There we go. Same thing, snapping it to spine joints 3. I might make some of these smaller to show that they're a smaller control in the pipeline and in the chain. And then Control D, this new control. W and hold down V and snap it to spine joint 4. If I can get there. Go. There we go. Scale this a little bit. And then the last one, Control D. Hold down V and then snap it to the center of this joint here. There we go. And scale it down a little bit. Okay. Alright, so next we're going to create controls for the top tail fin and the bottom tail fin. It's just going to be 1 and 2. So I'll add another NURBS curve. I'm going to bring it up, rotate it, and match kind of the angle of this. Snap it and scale it. Make it a little narrow. And a little smaller, so it's not in the way of the other control. I'm going to name this top tail fin control. I'm going to press Control D and duplicate it. And then I'm going to rotate it along the x-axis. So this is going to be positive 43. And now it's a mirrored direction of the top tail fin. And I'll snap this into this joint. So it'll be bottom tail joint 1. And we're only making controls for the one joint, not for the tip. I'll rename this bottom tail fin control. And I'll go ahead and I'll make ones for the top fin here, or dorsal fin. So I'm going to rotate this slightly. And again, I'm going to snap this to the center of this top tail fin, joint 1. I'll rename it top fin control. Okay. I'll rotate this slightly. There we go. Okay. Alright, so I'll do the same thing. I'll make another NURBS curve. Snap it to this left joint. I'm going to rotate it. I am going to scale it just a wee bit. There we go. And this will be left fin control 1. And we'll just make a second one. So I'll press Control D. Snap it. And then rotate it slightly. I'll do the same thing for this control and duplicate it. Control D. And in this case, it's going to just rotate along Y. So this will be positive 151. I'll snap it over here. And along X too. I'm going to hold down V, snap it to here, to left fin joint, right fin joint 1, and X will be positive 22. And actually, I'll bring this back to negative. And we'll do, let me see, go back to E so I can see which axis this is. Yeah, we'll do positive Z. There we go. Right. See if I rotate this. Okay. I see, it wasn't as, okay. Okay, so with this control, I'll rename it right fin control 1. And then Control D, duplicate, and bring it over here, snap it. Scale down. Okay. might scale these a little bit more so that they're not in the way. Let me see, what scale did I do? Let's do 0.6 for all of these. For the side fin controls, I'll do this 0.4. Same thing for the other side. 0.6, 0.4. All right, and so now what we need to do before any parenting happens, we're going to take all these controls and freeze transformation. So I'm going to drag select all of these from translate to scale, freeze, hold down your right mouse button and freeze all. Huzzah. And so now what we're going to do, we're going to make a parent constraint to each of the joints that it's connected to. So select the parent, which is the control. Hold down the shift key, select the child. Deselect your geometry here so that you're not clicking on the geometry by mistake. Select the control, select the child, which is the joint. And under rigging, you're going to make a parent constraint. Same thing here. Select this control, shift select the joint, parent constraint, and you're going to do it for all of these items. Select the control, select the joint, parent constraint. I'm going to just go down the order of the hierarchy, so I'm going to do all the spine, and then the tail fin. Basically the order of making the controls and the joints. Boom. This control, this joint. Boom. This control, this joint. Parent constraint. Let's do the top fin. Now the left fin 1. Control, joint, parent constraint. Control, joint, parent constraint. Control, joint, parent constraint. And so now, here's a test. So you'll notice, well, Laura, it's not moving the other controls. Same thing that we did with the robot arm. We need to middle mouse drag the controls into the respective parent. So first things first, middle mouse drag right fin control 2, middle mouse drag it into right fin control 1, left fin control 2, middle mouse drag it into um, left fin control 1. And the top fins here, well, we're going to middle mouse drag this into spine control 3, because this is the one that it's branching out to. So it needs to follow spine joint 3. So we're going to middle mouse drag top fin control into spine control 3. The left fins and right fin control, left fin control 1 and right fin control 2. Oh, sorry, right fin control 1. These two first side fins. Shift select both of them and middle mouse drag them. Notice that they're branching out from spine control 2. So we're going to middle mouse drag these into spine control 2. Aha. And now, well, bottom and tail fins here are stemming from spine control 5. So shift select both of these, middle mouse drag them into spine control 5, and now take all of these from 5 goes into 4, 4 goes into 3, 3 goes into 2, and 2 goes into 1. So middle mouse drag, middle mouse drag, middle mouse drag, and then middle mouse drag. And so now let's do a test. Select the control, do a rotation. What? I know, I know. What? And so this should be working. Huzzah. And remember to test the control, not the not the joints. These should all be working fine. You should do a test. I have done this. What? This is my 7th year doing this. I know this is working. Okay. The other things to note. Same thing that we did with the robot arm. Minus the first control, this will direct the fish, right? Going forward and back and all that. The other controls have no translation really. So you should be locking these. So I'm going to just shift select all the controls. As many as I can really. And lock selected. Let's see if it'll let me. Lock selected. So I'll go through these. Just kind of determine that translation. You can't really scale these, so nothing's going to happen when you do that. If you want to hide them, you're free to do that. Oh, so this one did not. That one's good. It's just really important to clean up your rig. Things that you don't need, take them away. Okay, so then it's just these two. Okay. Lock selected. Alright, so now go back to the eyeballs, which I have it under the joint chain, and I'll press H. So now let's see how this looks. Here we go. Okay, so that's setting up the rig of the fish. Thanks for playing, guys. Alright, increment and save your scene.